Officer. And the first question is in the name of Jacqui Dean.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and asks, what reports has he received on the long-term benefits of strong fiscal management?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, the Treasury has today released its long-term fiscal update required by statute. This confirms that the sorts of decisions the government's been making in recent years, careful and considered decisions about getting the effective use of government spending, put New Zealand in a stronger fiscal position to be able to manage the future impact of an ageing population and rising health costs.
Supplementary question, Jacqui Dean.
To the Minister, what does the report say about fiscal discipline, and how is the government's fiscal strategy supporting the delivery of public services in the future?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, the government believes that the best way to get the government's books in order is to provide effective public services. What works for the community and for New Zealand citizens works for the government books. The long-term fiscal update highlights the long-term impact of the careful decision-making that this government has processed around containment of government expenditure by the offering effective public services, and the government will continue with that strategy, because if we do, the report shows that New Zealand will be in good shape to handle the rising costs of national superannuation and the rising costs of health associated with an ageing population.
Supplementary question, Jacqui Dean.
To the Minister, what does the report say about the costs of meeting superannuation, and how does this compare with the benefits of sound fiscal management?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, the report shows that increasing the age of eligibility from 65 to 67 for national superannuation makes a difference of around 0.7% of GDP by 2030. The report also shows that maintaining the government's fiscal strategy of returning to surplus with moderate increases in spending and investment in better public services through to 2020, just 7 years from now, will reduce net government debt from around 50% of GDP to under 10% of GDP. So clearly managing government expenditure well has a much bigger impact on our future debt loading than small adjustments to national superannuation.
Supplementary question, Jacqui Dean.
Thank you. To the Minister, what alternative strategies for fiscal management would put the government's progress in reducing debt at risk?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, of course, we get to reduce debt once we get to surplus. And once we get to surplus, we need to make sure that we don't spend those surpluses on ineffective public services and we spend them on reducing debt. Alternative strategies that would make it harder would be those that we inherited as a government, where public debt was forecast to reach 50 or 60% of GDP simply on the basis of loose and wasteful spending by the previous government.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David Parker.
When he made reference to 0.7% in his earlier answer, was it 0.7% of GDP per annum? And given that his own department says that over time New Zealand super payments will consume an increasing share of government spending if current legislative settings are retained, and given the Prime Minister's well-known memory lapses, has he been advised by the Prime Minister that he forgot his statement 5 years ago to resign rather than raise the age eligibility? And if so, is he willing to do the responsible thing now, as is clearly the Treasury's recommendation, and give notice of a gradual rise in the age of eligibility?
Honourable Bill English, any of about 4 questions.
Well, Mr Speaker, the Prime Minister means what he says, and what he said he wouldn't raise the age of eligibility, and he won't. And that is a better policy than Labor's policy, which is to raise the age of eligibility so they can waste money on all sorts of other stuff.
Order. Question number 2, Grant Robertson.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Prime Minister.